Chris here, and welcome to my channel. As you can see by my setup, it's time to play. Phase 10 chooses my TBR. So, before we dive into the game, I wanted to mention all of the other things I'm doing in the month of February with required reads. First, I'm going to mention that I'm taking part in Buzzwordathon, which is hosted by Jade from Jade Reads. It is the first full week in February, and there is a wheel that we're going to be able to spin, and we're going to kind of choose our prompts from there. There's also a donation link. She's raising money to save the polar bears. I will link that, her channel, and the announcement video in the description below. I am planning to kind of spin as I go and see how many books I can read in a week and what my prompts are and see what I can fulfill them with. So I'm not having a really set TBR because I'm going to kind of play that by ear, which I think also allows me a little bit more freedom to kind of read what I want and not put too much pressure on myself. It is the only readathon I am doing in the month of February. That being said, I do have a few other things I wanted to address. I'm still doing Wheel of Time along. I really enjoyed the first book, so I will be reading the second book, The Great Hunt, in the month of February. I've actually purchased the first 3 books, so it's on its way to me, so hopefully it'll get here in plenty of time for me to read it. Then I'm doing a Rick Riordan kind of read-along in the hopes to read all of the Percy Jackson universe kind of books, because there's the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, the Heroes of Olympus, and the Trials of Apollo, all of which are set in that world. And then there's like some other like companion novels, and I'm hoping to get to all of them before September when the 6th book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series comes out. And I plan to, I believe in October, read the 6th book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, and then the first book in the Nico D'Angelo series, which is kind of the 4th series that is set in the Percy Jackson world. For the month of February, I will be reading The Titan's Curse. I figured it is a short month, so I'd only put 1 book on my TBR. I'm doing a read-along in my Discord, so if you want to join in, there are channels where a handful of us are chatting about our read of the series. I know that for me, it's all going to be a reread, but I know there are people in there who haven't read it, so it is really, really fun. If you want to join in, my Discord will be linked in the description below. So I'm still doing Buzzwordathon. The prompt this month is verbs. So the book I have chosen is Reading Up a Storm, because reading is a verb. This is the 3rd book in the Lighthouse Library series, and I'm really, really enjoying it. It's a cozy mystery series where we're following, what's her name? Lucy, who works in a library that's housed in a lighthouse and solves mysteries. So I'm very excited to be getting back to this. And the last thing I need to mention is that I'm doing Completely Melanie's TBR Knockout. The prompts for February are read a book by a Black author. And so for this, I'll be reading Little and Lion by Brandy Colbert. It says, when Suzette comes home to Los Angeles from her boarding school in New England, she doesn't want to go back. LA is where her friends and family are, along with her crush Emile. And her stepbrother, Lionel, who has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, needs her around for emotional support. But as she settles into her old life, Suzette finds herself falling for someone new, the same girl her brother is in love with. When Lionel's disorder spirals out of control, Suzette is forced to find a way to save her brother from himself. But will he ever trust Suzette enough to let her help him? So, hard-hitting, I think YA contemporary should be kind of interesting. And then the second prompt is to read a book about a topic that's kind of affecting the Black community. And I'm going to read Color Me In by Natasha Diaz. This says, who is Nevaeh Levitz? Growing up 16-year-old Nevaeh Levitz never thought much about her biracial roots. But after her Black mom and Jewish dad split up, she's forced to confront her identity when she's relocated from the affluent New York City suburb she grew up in to her mom's family home in Harlem. Nevaeh feels caught between her mother's family, especially her cousin who thinks Nevaeh is too privileged to relate to the injustices African Americans face on a daily basis, and her father's expectations. At first, Nevaeh does what she's always done when life gets complicated. She stays silent. But when she learns more about her family history, she begins to realize she has her own voice. Will Nevaeh continue to let circumstances dictate her path, or will she decide once and for all who and where she is meant to be? So I think that is probably as close as I'm going to get when it comes to fitting that bill. So I'm very excited to be reading both of these in the month of February. So I believe that's all like the read-along book clubs, etc. that I'm doing, which brings me to my nonfiction choice of February. So I'm doing something a little different this month, and I'm actually putting 4 books on my TBR. And the reason for that is that February is Black History Month, and I have chosen to read What Were the Negro Leagues, What is Juneteenth, What Was the Reconstruction, and What is Black Lives Matter. The other two are still at the library. I have to pick them up. These were the only ones that my library had physically, but there are others that I can access via ebook online, so I'm hoping to read more. They have other that are in this kind of vein, and also I may be looking into reading, like, who was Martin Luther King, who was Rosa Parks, things like that, important historical Black figures that are part of the Who HQ line. I just thought it would be a really good way to pick my nonfiction this month and kind of learn about a bunch of different areas in Black history. Granted, they're middle grade, so it's kind of basic, but I still thought it was a nice way to kind of include that in my nonfiction pick for February, so I'm quite looking forward to those. Which leaves me with this. So it is time to pull some series out of my jar. I've added a few back in that I was up to date to at the beginning of the year because their newest books have been released, so if they come out, hopefully I will be able to access them. Let's see. We're going to go, I guess, with this blue one. We'll go all the way down to the bottom. And we'll go with this red one. And we'll take this green one here. So, my first series is First Law by Joe Abercrombie. Yeah, that bit me in the butt, didn't it? So this is the read along that I'm doing with Becca from the Catch Up Book Club. This was supposed to be the pick for March and April, but my TBR jar has decided that I'm going to be reading it in February instead. Okay, I guess I can do that. So, the next book is Before They Were Hanged. This is an adult fantasy series. I really enjoyed the first book, and I'm very curious to see where the second book is going. I just hadn't planned to read it this month because I already have a couple of very, very, very chunky adult fantasies on my TBR. So, oh well, it's going to be a very long month. My second series is hopefully going to be a shorter book, and it is Claude, Evil Alien Warlord Cat. That is definitely shorter. So I'm on the fourth book in this series. It's called Target Earth. This follows a cat named Claude, who was the ruler of this planet and got sent to Earth, so he is no longer a ruler. And he ends up getting adopted by a human boy who bestows upon him the name Claude. On his home planet, he is called Whiz-Cuz, and the planet is Litterbox. This series is absolutely hilarious. I love the relationship between Claude and his human Raj, and I'm very excited to be diving back into it. And the third series I will be continuing is Myrtle Hardcastle. So I'm on the third book in this series. It's called Cold-Blooded Myrtle. And in this series, we're following a young girl named Myrtle Hardcastle. And I believe it's historical fiction, and she solves mysteries. I have no idea what's going to happen in this one, but I'm totally down to continue on with this series. So, at least my series 2 and 3 were nice to me, even though series 1 wasn't. But what can you do? So now, before we get into the game, there's one more thing I need to do, and that is talk about my TBR from last month. So as it stands, it is the 26th, and I have 3 books left to complete on my Phase 10 TBR. I have Sir Callie and the Knights of Helston, I believe it's called. And I am currently on, like, page 32, but I see no reason why I won't finish this. I have Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, and I'm, like, halfway through this book, so again, no reason I'm not going to finish that. And The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek, another book I'm, like, halfway through. I see no reason I won't finish that, which means I will be giving myself a reward. So last month, I asked for suggestions. I will be asking for a suggestion again. So if you have any suggestions for punishments or rewards that I can add to the board, please do. But the ones that were suggested last month are replace one of your books with a mood read. And this was suggested by Amanda Lynn and Naomi's Bookshelf. So I'll be using that as a reward. And Amanda Lynn also suggested Void a Wild for a reward. And I think that's a fantastic reward. So I'll be adding that. I also ended up with 2 extra punishments, one of which is Second Chance Author, which was suggested by Naomi from Naomi's Bookshelf. It is a prompt I actually took out because it was one I really, really struggled with, but I think it makes a fitting punishment. And then I'm going with not allowed to continue series. So Naomi suggested I start a series, but I don't mind starting series. So I liked her prompt. It kind of inspired me to come up with the idea of I'm not allowed to continue series. So if I end up with this prompt on the board and I pull it, I cannot read a book that is a series continuation at all in the month I pull it in, which could really, really screw me. So those are my punishments. I'm going to mix the new rewards into the old rewards. And we will end up pulling one to add to my prompt board and replace one of these prompts. And before we do that, we have to see where it's going to go. So here's my spinner wheel. Let's see what color we're going for. Red. Again. So now we have our numbers up here, all but the number 6, because I already have a red 6 covered with that. And we will go with a red 7. Okay, so we are going to grab this one. We will replace whatever this is with whatever that is. We'll slide that back in our pile. Alas, I'm going for a all one color phase on phase 10, which means I'm going for red, so I won't be getting a reward this month unless I complete that phase. But now, with all of that out of the way, we can dive into the game. Draw number 1 is a red. Well, that's helpful. I'm going to go with the green 12. It's speaking to me. Let's see if it's anything good. The prompt for green 12 is paperback. So for this, I'll go with Reading Up a Storm, since I'm going to be reading it anyways, and I have the paperback edition. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Draw number 2 is a blue 3. And the prompt for blue 3 is no people on the cover. So for this, I'm going to read No Escape Clause by Sophie Ryan. This is the 5th book, I believe, in the Second Chance Cat mystery series. We're following Sarah Grayson, who works at a secondhand shop, and her grandmother's friends kind of run out of room for her and do some private detecting, and they tend to drag her in. She has a very cute cat named Elvis, who is on the cover, but there are no people, so this will count, and I'm very excited to be putting another cozy mystery on my TBR. Draw number 3 is a red 4. I think I'll go with the yellow 7. For here. Just slot you down here. And the prompt for yellow 7 is Mom Pick. So I will be presenting 4 books to my mom, 2 of which I want to read and 2 of which I don't. When I think what I'm going to do is pick all library books as my choices. And I think I'm going to go with The Brightest Night by 2T Sutherland, which is the, I think, 5th book in the Wings of Fire series. This would be one I want to read because it is one of the books in my series to continue. So definitely want to read this. I'm going to go with Dark Days, I believe that's the name of it, which is the next book in the Skullduggery Pleasant series, which is another series to continue. I'm getting that from the library. So that would be another book I want to continue. And then the 2 that I don't, I'm going to go with The Light of All That Falls by James Islington, which is the 3rd and final book in the Lycanis trilogy. And I'm very excited to read this, but I don't particularly want to have it on my Phase 10 TBR because that would mean I would have to read it, well, in the month of February. And Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. Again, I plan to read it in February, but I don't want to have it on my TBR because then it's a required read, and I don't want any of those punishments. So I think what I will do is I will show her the covers and have her pick from there. That way she's not doing it based on the size of the book. And we'll see what she comes up with. I'm going to pop a picture of the winner up here. Please, Mom, be nice to me. Draw number 4 is a red 8. Well, this is being nice to me. Since it's an 8, we'll go with the green 8. And the prompt for green 8 is A to Z title. Okay, so here we go. I've pulled up a spinner wheel with all the letters, have mixed the letters up, and let's see what we're looking for here. C. I thought for a minute there it was going to be X. I was terrified. C. Oh, okay, C I can do. So for C, I'm going to go with Color Me In. I've already mentioned this book. Seems a no-brainer to put it on my TBR since it's already on there. So yeah, very, very nice to me. That prompt could have been very bad. Draw number 5 is a blue 10. And the prompt of blue 10 is large cast of characters. So for this, I'm going to go with the Titan's Curse. This certainly has a large cast of characters. We do mainly focus on Percy, Annabeth, and Grover in this series, but we see all different sorts of gods and all different sorts of campers, and I just feel like it fits pretty well for this particular prompt. And I mean, I've got to read it anyways, so I might as well choose it and put it on my TBR. So yeah, I think this counts as a large cast of characters, so we're going to go with it. Draw number 6 is a blue 9. And I got Rick Riordan Presents. Well, crap. I feel like I could have gotten away with reading The Titan's Curse for that. Give me a second. So, for this, I'm going to read Arusha and the Nectar of Immortality. This is the 5th and I believe final book in the Pandava series by Roshani Chokshi. I decided to go with one of the series that I was involved in that I could kind of wrap up because, like I said, this is the final book. This would take a series off my list, so I think it is the smart choice rather than starting one of his other Rick Riordan Presents series, even though I do want to read them. I've really, really enjoyed the series, so I'm looking forward to seeing how it wraps up. Draw number 7 is a red 7. I wonder if it's being nice to me because February is my birthday month, and it knows how much I hate my birthday month because it always sucks. We'll see if I get any wilds. So we're going to go with the blue 7 since I pulled a red 7. And the prompt for blue 7 is poll pick. Okay, so I'm going to be nice to myself for a change. I don't do it very often. And I will be putting a poll on my Twitter. And what I'm going to do is pick books that aren't on my TBR, like my planned TBR as of right now, which is the mean part, but I'm going to pick books I need to read in the next few months anyways. So the first option will be Foxcraft, Book 1, The Taken. And this is a 5-star prediction, so I need to be reading it in the next few months anyways, but it's not technically on my TBR as of right now. The second option will be Endling by Catherine Applegate. This is also a 5-star prediction, so it's a book I'm going to need to read, but wasn't technically on my TBR. Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna, which is one of my winter covers. And Beartown by Frederick Bachman, another one of my winter covers. So my 4 choices are essentially 2 of my 5-star predictions and 2 of my winter covers, none of which I was planning necessarily to read this month, which is kind of the punishment part, because usually I do 2 books I don't want to read and 2 books I do. But this way, I'm definitely reading a book I kind of need to read, but I wasn't necessarily planning on reading right now. So those will be the options. And I will pop a picture of the poll up here so you can see who won. Either way, I'm happy with whatever was chosen because they're all books I wanted to get to in the near future anyways. Draw number 8 is a red 2. I completed phase. Would you look at that? Which means I get a skip or a swap. It really is being nice to me for my birthday month. Who'da thunk? And the prompt for blue 11. Library book. Well, I'm going to be nice to myself and I'm going to pick What Were the Negro Leads. 'Cause I got this out of my library, so yeah. Seems like a smart choice. Short book, quick, easy read. It's a library book. It counts. So with my phase being complete, that means I need to redo the board, so I'll be back with you in just a minute. Okay, so as you can see, the board is set up. I'm going for a set of 5 and a set of 2. I'm declaring that a 12, which is what I have to do, basically because I literally get any of those numbers and I have my set of 2. So we're going for 12s and, well, one of those numbers. I don't know which one yet. We'll find out. So, Draw number 8 is a yellow 11, which is one of the few numbers I do not have over there. The prompt for yellow 11 is fantasy. So for this, I'm going to do Claude, target Earth, because it is definitely a fantasy. It's already on my TBR, and I'm going to choose to be nice to myself. So that will be my choice for fantasy. And for what is hopefully my last draw of February, draw number 10 is a 10. I will take it. I'm very happy about this 10. And my last prompt I need to fulfill is last letter, first letter. That means that I have to choose a book that starts with the last letter of the book I just chose. So I picked Target Earth, which means I need to read a book that starts with the letter H. So for this, I'm going to read Hollywood Homicide by Kelly Garrett. It says, actress Dana Anderson's deadly new role, homicide detective. Dana Anderson doesn't set out to solve a murder. All the semi-famous, mega-broke actress wants is to help her parents keep their house. So after witnessing a deadly hit and run, she pursues the 15-grand reward. But Dana soon finds herself doing a full-on investigation, wanting more than just money. She wants justice for the victim. She chases down leads at paparazzi hotspots, celeb homes, and movie premieres, loving every second of it. Until someone tries to kill her. And there are no second takes in real life. So this seems like it might be the start to a new, cozy mystery series. I'm very curious about it. It sounded interesting. I also have to read Target, Earth, and Hollywood Homicide back to back. I can't read anything in between because the last letter, first letter prompt, that's the whole idea. And there we have it. That is going to be my TBR for the month of February. Hopefully in poll pick and mom pick, I got some good books. Like I said, with my poll pick, I had 4 options that I wanted to get to either way, but hopefully whichever book gets picked for me is a really good one. And hopefully my mom is nice to me, even though she won't know whether she's being nice or not. And I believe that's it. So those are going to be the books I read in February. I would love to know a book you're reading in February. All of my social media, including my Discord, is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me or to join in my Percy Jackson read-along. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me some kind of birthday emojis to celebrate my birthday month. And hopefully make it a slight bit brighter than it usually is, because if it's as crap as last year, I mean, it's got a pretty low bar to clear, because last year's really sucked. So fingers crossed this year's is better. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!